It's a monster twister.
This is a major tornado.
Oh my God.
It's going to level most houses.
We could see something straight above us, something as large as a car.
How do you track it?
Next thing I know, the power goes off, and then we hear like a freight train,
Where do you hide?
Wow. We're gonna have to retreat, Gary.
Okay.
We've got large chunks of debris falling on us.
And who do you call?
It's unexplainable. The things that happen there is totally unnatural.
Test your knowledge, strategy, and instincts in the face of the Oklahoma City mega tornado.
This thing is massive.
May 3rd, 1999, Oklahoma City. It's the end of the school year, a typical May morning, warm, humid, and breezy. The sky provides few clues that a storm is brewing. But it's springtime in Tornado Alley, a twister breeding ground that stretches from Texas to Nebraska.
We're just an area where all the ingredients that you need for severe thunderstorms and tornado come together.
By mid-afternoon, heavy storm clouds begin to gather overhead. For many, it appears to be another passing thunderstorm. But for meteorologist Gary England, it could be the first sign that something more ominous is looming on the horizon.
I walked outside and looked at the sky, and it was chaotic. Conditions are pretty favorable for some explosive thunderstorm development. In fact, some of that's going on right now.
Gary checks Doppler radar.
So, storm in the El Reno, Yukon area moving northeast toward Piedmont.
Doppler records wind speeds and identifies areas of tornado potential within thunderstorms. What he sees confirms his worst fears.
Fairly dangerous. Storms are intensifying very rapidly. Suddenly, it's just like the atmosphere is almost turning over. Thunderstorms are just going up everywhere, and they're all rotating.
Perfect conditions for tornadoes. During the spring and summer months, when cold air from the west clashes with warm, moist air from the east, thunderstorms are always a possibility. The most violent ones are known as supercells, intense thunderstorms that rotate. Water droplets from the moist air form a swirling funnel cloud, but it's not until that funnel touches the ground that it's classified as a tornado. You're a meteorologist. What's the best way to verify a tornado touchdown? Doppler radar. Get your team to check for rain density and speed. Tornado-seeking rocket. Have an engineer launch one of these fuel-powered rockets into the storm. Storm chasers. Send a professional crew to the storm to watch for funnel clouds. While Doppler is helpful in showing wind speeds, it won't necessarily reveal if a storm has touched down. A tornado-seeking rocket, although it can measure the temperature, pressure, and humidity inside a tornado, can't determine whether or not a tornado has touched down. The best way to determine if a tornado is forming is an eyewitness. Send out professional storm chasers.
To identify if there's a tornado on the ground, you need someone there to see it, and preferably an experienced person that knows severe storm structure and storm behavior.
Throughout the afternoon, Gary keeps in constant contact with Val and Amy Castor, News 9's husband and wife storm tracker team. Their truck is outfitted with GPS, video cameras, and mobile internet. Gary depends on their eyewitness reports.
Gary, we have a tornado on the ground, a brief touchdown.
And then it happens. Late afternoon, Val and Amy see a small tornado touch down in Lawton, Oklahoma, about 80 miles southwest of Oklahoma City.
The storm kept getting stronger, you know. I mean, I was amazed at how this thing just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Just 10 minutes later, the storm puts down another tornado. This one is also small, but it's much more powerful, and it's unpredictable.
It was on the ground for probably 15 minutes or so. It wasn't very wide, you know. At times, we probably noticed it was maybe 150 yards wide or so, but it was very intense. Oh, I was on the phone with Gary the whole time, and I was saying, Gary, it might not be that big, but it's very intense. I mean, it was just tearing things up.
Wow. This thing is throwing up debris all over the place.
The tornadoes looked more vicious as the day went on, but I can remember thinking, you know, at the beginning of the day, you know, how it started out as just, you know, a small ropey tornado, and each tornado just got larger and larger.
Oh, wow. Getting on a shear with this storm.
Matt Biddle, a student from the University of Oklahoma, is also on the hunt for tornadoes. He's driving a mobile Mesonet car for the National Severe Storms Lab, a virtual weather station on wheels.
I think about halfway through the chase, it became obvious to even veteran chasers that this was a different kind of day, a 100-year event kind of thing.
Oh my God, this is gonna do it big time.
So I can remember never letting go of the steering wheel for another 6 hours and 14 tornadoes later. It really went fast once it went.
It's a terrifying phenomenon weather scientists call an outbreak, an angry cluster of many tornadoes caused by the same storm system.
Suddenly we were starting to see tornadoes everywhere.
During the next couple of hours, tornadoes begin their assault as they drop from the sky, each one unpredictable, and each one potentially catastrophic.
The May 3rd, 99 tornado at one time was every type of tornado you can imagine. It started out as a small funnel, what we might call an F1, F2 tornado, just a funnel hanging down. At times it was a wedge, times it was a stovepipe, other times it was just a massive, massive tornado on the ground. So any type of description of a tornado that you can come up with, the F5 tornado of May 3rd, at one time or another, could have been identified as one of those, because it was.
This is the kind of day its chasers can be killed. It is 23 too late.
While Matt and his team frantically communicate with the Severe Storms Lab, Val and Amy risk their lives to get as close as possible to these twisters.
Gary, this thing has a very intense circulation right at the ground level. It's not very big around, but I wouldn't want to be in the path of it.
I was telling him where it was and which way it was going and what it looked like. And what I was trying to get across to him is even though it was a relatively narrow tornado, it was very strong.
Strong enough to produce a deadly F5. Devised in 1971 by Dr. Ted Fujita of the University of Chicago, the F-scale, for Fujita, classifies tornadoes into differing intensities based on their damage to man-made structures. It runs from 0 to 6. While an F0 produces estimated winds of 40 to 72 miles per hour, F5s can produce ruthless winds of up to 318 miles per hour. F6 tornadoes are considered inconceivable. Even though the F-scale is widely used, F-scale wind speeds have never been scientifically tested and proven.
An F5 tornado tears up everything in its path, and believe me, I've seen it. An F5 tornado, generally speaking, if you don't have underground shelter, you're going to be injured, if not killed, when the tornado comes through. I mean, it's that deadly.
And now, weather with Gary England.
Okay. All right, storms continue to
Back at News 9, Gary England anxiously watches Doppler. He tells Val and Amy that the already massive supercell thunderstorm is growing. And that means the next tornado that touches down could be catastrophic.
When I turned and looked at it, it was huge. And I had never seen rotation in a wall cloud like that before. I mean, it started huge. You know, when it first touched down, I said, Gary, this is a large tornado.
Not only is it a giant, but there's a significant satellite tornado attached to it. That equals double the deadly power. These smaller but strong twisters, also known as subvortices, hide inside many big twisters, but dust and debris usually keep them out of sight. This one is visible, and it's terrifying. In the newsroom, Gary England is listening to Val Castor with disbelief.
Gary, we can see another funnel, actually.
Where's it?
Hey, we've got another funnel behind the first one. It's on the ground. There's 2 tornadoes on the ground right now.
The adrenaline level goes up. This satellite tornado was the size of most normal tornadoes, and you had this monster in the middle.
2 tornadoes on the ground.
Subvortices can form and die within a few seconds. These small tornadoes may be short-lived, but they can wreak havoc inside the main tornado. The wind speeds can increase by over 100 miles per hour. As a result, subvortices are the main cause of most of the narrow, extreme swaths of damage that sometimes appear in tornado tracks.
Oh, and that is getting bigger. The main one is getting bigger, too, much bigger.
Just when they think it can't get any worse, the violent tornado grows.
This thing is massive.
The storm started to go from being sort of spectacular and I would call maybe sort of textbook to this sort of monster kind of entity that seemed to be almost alive.
The tornado moves northeast toward the town of Chickasha, 42 miles southwest of Oklahoma City. As it moves, this already massive tornado does something astounding. It keeps growing.
But it's big, very big.
Val was making comments like, you know, it's going to get bigger. It's going to be a big one. And you know, an average person saying that to you, you wouldn't pay any attention. But if Val Castor's saying it to you, you pay attention because the guy knows what he's talking about.
We have a very significant, possibly deadly tornado on the ground.
In the field, Val and Amy Castor come face to face with the full force of this monster.
There was a point there to which we got kind of too close, and we looked at each other and said, man, this is big.
So close, they can hear it.
The one on May 3rd was absolutely the scariest sound I've ever heard. If you can imagine a deep roar, kind of like a B-52, like the engines of a B-52, it kind of got to you. You know, I mean, it was a deafening roar. The closer you got, the louder it got, but it was definitely something that I'll never forget.
There's all kinds of debris flying through the air, all kinds of debris. See it? Look there. We're gonna have to retreat, Gary.
Okay.
We're gonna have to back up here. We've got large chunks of debris falling on us.
We both looked up in the sky and out the windshield of the truck. We almost had to look straight up. And we could see something, a large piece of debris, straight above us. You know, maybe, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile above us in the air. Something as large as a car.
A tornado is closing in on your car. Which direction should you drive? Toward an overpass. The structure will protect you from the wind. Drive around it. It will be calm on the other side. Drive at a right angle. This will take you out of the tornado's path. Hiding under an overpass is one of the most dangerous things to do. They act as a funnel for debris. Although some renegade storm chasers try to skirt around a tornado, it's extremely dangerous. Under these extreme circumstances, drive at a right angle, out of the tornado's path. Most tornadoes move around 30 miles per hour.
There's no reason why you could not safely and orderly fashion drive away from a tornado. And that would be the thing that you would want to do.
When we looked up out the windshield and saw a huge car or a roof or something overhead, you know, we just turned around and drove away from it. You know, we probably drove a half a mile and turned around and watched it till we thought we were safe.
It hasn't even hit highly populated areas, but already the damage is tragic. The tornado rips through farmhouses, tearing them apart.
Gary, this is the stuff F4's made of.
I was trying my best just to tell Gary, look, it's big and it's bad, and it's the biggest one I've ever seen.
I've seen wider tornadoes, I've seen taller tornadoes, but I don't think I've ever seen a more frightening tornado.
When it was near Chickasha is when I think Val really realized how bad it was going to be, and I realized how bad it was going to be. And it moved north of Chickasha and put down this huge tornado. I remember at one point Val said, Gary, it's so large I can't get it in my viewfinder.
Gary's live broadcast warns the residents of Chickasha that the killer tornado might come their way.
This is the most incredible thing I've seen.
It's large, it's huge.
6:20 p.m. The tornado roars through Chickasha, Oklahoma. Amazingly, it spares the center of town. It appears this wind-driven twister has a bigger target in mind, the state capitol. Coming up, the monster tornado is still growing, and it's headed toward Oklahoma City.
It's getting ready to move into a very densely populated area. This is a huge, deadly tornado, wedge tornado. Val, it's coming down again. It's coming down.
A massive tornado has touched down, and now it's headed on a dangerous path toward Oklahoma City. Early evening, News 9 storm trackers Val and Amy Castor risk their lives to give Gary England a critical blow-by-blow report.
Gary, you there?
Yes.
Okay, Gary, man, this thing is still just as large as it ever was.
F6 tornado on the ground right now.
Suddenly, the tornado shocks everyone. According to Val and Amy's GPS, it shifts direction and moves straight toward a densely populated area.
On our map, we're starting to see areas of residential sections in its path now, more towards the northeast. I mean, it's starting to come into the outskirts of the metro area.
There is nothing that can stop this catastrophic tornado. It's already ripped through farmhouses, but now, something more valuable may be at stake: human lives.
When I started seeing that grid section of roads coming into the map view, you know, at that point I started getting cold shudders, because I knew that a tornado this large, you know, was going to be doing tremendous amounts of damage. And tornadoes like this is what kill people.
This really was the monster, and it was in a populated area.
Gary urgently warns residents to take cover.
I knew I had to say something different, because I've done thousands of warnings, and usually there's not thousands of tornadoes. And so I for the first time ever, I said you need to be below ground level to survive. And I knew that would get their attention.
This is a long track, potentially deadly tornado. It is best if you are below ground level. You know, you can find a basement in a building, a basement in a church, steel reinforced buildings. Mobile homes will not survive this. You need to be below ground. Many regular structures will not survive this.
6:45 p.m. Oklahoma City's then mayor, Kirk Humphreys, is watching News 9's live coverage with horror. He fears the worst. The city could be completely destroyed.
And Gary England came on TV and said, if you are not below ground, get below ground. And I had never heard that before.
So this thing is very deadly. This is a wedge tornado. This is the type of tornado that you need to be below ground level.
We all know Gary England real well, and he's famous around here for tornadoes. But I had never heard that sense of urgency in Gary England's voice, and I headed to the storm shelter.
If you're driving anywhere between Chickasha and Oklahoma City on I-44, get off of that sucker now if you got to run through a fence.
At Channel 9, the newsroom erupts into a state of frenzy.
The adrenaline was pumping, but it was like watching a movie, except you're a part of it. Because you're looking, this is happening, here's a helicopter shot, here's Val saying this, and it was a weird feeling.
This thing is a monster.
6:50 p.m. The tornado hits about 25 miles south of Oklahoma City, in the town of Bridge Creek.
The power lines begin to flash, and it's obvious, you know, we're watching it live, it's going through populated areas, and people had to be dying. There's just no other way, because not everyone gets the message. And the power line flash was just kind of pow, 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 pow.
As you watch this, keep in mind,
Gary's worst fears begin to materialize.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
Moore, Oklahoma, just south of Oklahoma City. It's dinner time at local residents Charlotte and John Holleran's house. They have no idea that one of the worst tornadoes to hit the area is less than 20 miles away.
I was in the kitchen making sloppy joes, and I do remember Gary England coming on, and I remember the seriousness in his voice.
What began as an average night quickly turns into a series of life-and-death decisions. Their first move, immediately alert the neighbors.
I convinced my neighbors, I said, guys, we need to get out of here. And it was basically a caravan of 4 families. We loaded up kids, the hamsters, the dogs, and we got in the car and left our addition.
There's lots of debris in the air.
As the tornado moves into the Oklahoma City metro area, it's critical for Gary to reach as many people as possible. But suddenly, his broadcast is interrupted.
As the tornado went through the power lines, it would cut off the power for sometimes just a matter of seconds. But you know, when you cut off the power in a building like this, because all we do is use power, there's this loud wham.
Stay right.
Oh, really good.
Remind people we're on KXY.
We're on KXY radio. We're on KXY radio. This tornado is
and we go off the air, and you know, it was almost like a shot faced every time it happened. Everybody just went like this, and then we'd get back on the air, and then the tornado would go through another one of those major trunk lines, and it'd just be bam.
7:15 p.m. The tornado violently churns through the Oklahoma City suburb of Moore. It tears up house after house. Charlotte and John Holleran are watching the news coverage on a portable TV in their car. What they see is heart-wrenching.
They were following the path of destruction, and I just went, there's my addition. And I think that was a defining moment, the fact that you're looking at cul-de-sac after cul-de-sac that's gone.
This is absolutely incredible. Okay, this is a damaged path across parts, I don't know what it's, Moore.
3 miles from the Holleran's house, on the border of Moore and Oklahoma City, an awards ceremony is in progress at Westmoore High. Approximately 600 students and family members are inside the school. It's too dangerous to evacuate. They need to find the safest place to hide. Then teacher Roy Smith is there with his family.
As men are known to do, especially in Oklahoma, we were standing outside watching the tornado. We stayed out there watching until not the row of houses immediately south of the high school, but the next block over, we saw them start to explode and could see debris going up in the air from those, and of course the tornado was here. And so we ran in the building and took shelter.
Meanwhile, Craig Hitchcock drives home from work. He hasn't heard the storm reports. Instead, he discovers it firsthand.
By the time I got to South Oklahoma City, I had golf ball size hail hitting. Kind of pounding the car. I could see how black and dark it was really getting toward the west of Moore. And as I got a little closer, I stopped, and it was a solid black wall.
He nervously turns on the radio in his car.
I remember when Gary England gave a report about the tornado.
Airport, huge tornado on the ground that will be passing.
He said, you know what? Don't even stay in your house. Get below ground, because this one, you won't survive. And that was scary. I mean, when you hear something like that, you know it's going to be really bad.
You have time to take shelter. That means below ground shelter.
A few miles north of Moore, local resident Shelley Warlick is listening to Gary England's warnings. Shelley is 9 months pregnant and terrified.
He was saying, take cover, this is really bad, it's really big, and if you can be underground, be underground.
I knew by that point what it was and what it could do to people. And all you could do is talk about it and stress that they get out of the way.
The Warlicks don't have time to get out of harm's way, and they don't have a storm cellar. Still, they must find a way to save their own lives.
Yeah, okay. Just very briefly.
If you don't have a basement, where's the best place to go in your home? A bathroom. The plumbing provides structural reinforcement. An interior hallway. The more central you are in a house, the safer you are. Or a bedroom. Hiding beneath the bed will protect you from falling debris. Bedrooms and bathrooms usually have windows. Debris can come crashing through them or through the outside walls. Getting in the bathtub is a good second choice, but the best choice is in a hallway in the center of the house on the lowest level. It's the most structurally sound location, and since most hallways don't have windows, you'll be further protected from the flying glass and debris.
We went ahead and got the two girls in the closet.
Shelley and her mother-in-law take cover in the hallway.
Next thing I know, the power goes off.
Coming up, the tornado rips through Westmoore High, where hundreds of terrified people are taking shelter.
Oh boy, oh boy, this is not good.
May 3rd, 1999. An F5 tornado is minutes from the southwestern edge of Oklahoma City. At Westmoore High, roughly 600 people are attending an awards ceremony. Teacher Roy Smith is about to experience the force of an F5. 7:20 p.m. The tornado hits Westmoore High with a vengeance. Roy and his family huddle in an office. Debris smashes against the building.
If you stuck your head in a popcorn popper, if you could imagine what that would sound like, how violent, how fast, how loud that would sound, because there was just debris hitting the side of the building just at amazing rates of speed, and the amount of debris.
Within minutes, the tornado chews through the school. It leaves massive piles of debris in its wake.
The light fixture fell down out of the ceiling, was just hanging by the electrical wires. This is the area where the ceiling peeled off over our heads, and as the tornado passed through, you could just look up and see the sky.
It's huge.
Estimate that about a quarter of a mile right now. Yeah, we need to move.
The twister is unstoppable.
And it looks like it's a huge cloud on the ground. It's just a giant tornado.
To save lives, Gary needs to know where it's headed next. What's the best way to track the path of a tornado? With a helicopter, it'll give an eyewitness aerial view. Using radar, it'll show the debris cloud. By satellite, it'll reveal the supercell thunderstorm formation. While satellite imagery will reveal the formation of a supercell, it won't show an actual tornado. A helicopter can see the tornado from a distance, but it becomes dangerous if it gets too close. The best way to track a tornado is Doppler, because the debris cloud, the rubble swirling around the tornado, will show up on radar.
On May 3rd, the debris cloud was so huge it showed up on radar, and essentially you could track it quite well.
It's very broad, and this is not the exact speed, but right now it's moving Dell City, Tinker, Moore, huge tornado, deadly tornado, back to Ranger 9.
Doppler shows that the giant twister is now headed toward the Oklahoma suburb of Dell City. Pregnant Shelley Warlick and her family have no way of knowing whether they'll all survive.
Next thing you hear is these like big things hitting the house and the wood splintering and just everything just coming down and swirling around you.
By 8 p.m., the tornado passes through the Oklahoma City metro area, leaving a trail of death and destruction. As the sun goes down, other twisters wreak havoc in the dark.
God. Man, we've got debris everywhere.
Man.
Everything is leveled out here.
The tornado that 10 west-southwest of Shawnee.
Those storms went on well into the nighttime hours, even after midnight. I mean, so we probably didn't get through chasing that night until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
It was a very emotional roller coaster ride.
Tornadoes often die off when cool air on the storm's backside wraps around and cuts off the warm, humid air flowing in. At News 9, Gary England sees footage of the damage path.
Oh, man.
It's catastrophic.
As you folks watch this thing now, as you watch this, keep in mind,
Residents frantically search for their loved ones.
She's dead in the bathtub. My sister.
They said nobody's been over there. They got some injured people next street over.
Local resident Craig Hitchcock makes it home. His house survived the tornado. He grabs his daughter and drives back to the damage path to help.
Who had just been through EMT basic training and said, we better go back up there and see what we can do to help. And so we got some tools and things, and we headed back to Moore. Didn't look bad at first approaching Moore, but as we went over the overpass, it was incredible. There were beds in the highway. There was debris fields, 4 foot tall along each side of the highway guardrail. Saw dressers sitting out there complete with drawers in them, sitting in the middle of the highway. And it was just incredible. But as we came in, so I said, oh, this is going to be bad.
Mayor Humphreys is one of the lucky ones. The tornado spares his house. He immediately starts working the phones.
Our first concern was to preserve human life. Let's get people out of there. Let's get them safe. Let's find out if there are people that are buried or need help.
As the mayor, who's the first person you should call to get the rescue operation underway? The fire captain. He's in charge of rescue missions. The police chief. He will maintain order. The city manager. He can coordinate the operation. The police and fire departments play an important role in rescue operations, but most cities count on, first and foremost, a central point person, a city manager, to coordinate and prioritize all operations.
In our system, the police chief and the fire chief and the public works director all work for the city manager, and the city manager reports to the mayor and council. So my first contact with the city manager.
The city manager dispatches the fire department to the scene, but there's so much debris on the roads, they can't drive into the neighborhoods to begin their search.
But we weren't prepared for all the debris. Most of the fire trucks were on flats because of all the debris, the nails and the lumber in the streets, and for the most part, they didn't make it to the scene.
They are forced to climb in on foot. It's a grueling task.
You know, I've been in Oklahoma City all my life, and there's tornadoes every year. And, you know, it's something that, well, a tornado hit, and we get over it. You know, we rebuild and regroup, get our lives back together. But this was the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. We had no idea that it was going to be that bad.
Then dispatcher Brian Staniland is in charge of the Oklahoma City Fire Department's Emergency Response Center. They receive 911 calls via computer. He's at the epicenter of the community's panic and the nation's fears that loved ones are injured or, even worse, dead.
We started having these check the welfare calls pop up instantaneously. I mean, 10, 20, 30 calls within just a matter of seconds popped up on the screen.
Hello? We have an injury?
It's very difficult in that kind of situation to respond on the individual calls. There were too many coming in at once. I started worrying, you know, how are we going to help all of these people?
You have family living in the disaster zone. What agency do you contact to find out if they are okay? The Red Cross. Call their hotline. A local hospital. Check the patient locator. The Department of Emergency Management. Check to see if they have a list of survivors. Local hospitals may have patient locators, but names will only be on the list if they were admitted. The Department of Emergency Management is in charge of coordinating the actual response and recovery operations, but they don't keep a list of survivors. The best thing to do is contact the Red Cross. They have one of the largest consolidated family links registries available. Across town at Westmoore High, Roy Smith and his family are trapped inside a small office. They try to open the door to get out, but 4 feet of debris block it. Finally, they force it open.
We looked over here, realized everything was gone. The houses were all gone, the fence was gone. Ordinarily, when you would look out to the south, all you could see was houses and neighborhood. And it was all gone and flattened to the point where it was just like a flat area you could see all the way down to the intersection.
The high school quickly becomes a top priority. A 911 call comes in that the school is on fire. Battalion Chief Ahmed Rashidi is quickly dispatched to the scene.
When I got there was so much dust and debris in the air, it almost looked as if it was on fire. The roof was just ripped off of it, and there was just so much dirt and grass and debris. It had a glow to it in the background, and it appears as if it was on fire.
Stunned survivors flee the building by the hundreds. It's a surreal scene Gary England will never forget.
When the people filed out of there, you know, it kind of looked like a war zone. They were walking across this field, a long line of several hundred people, you know, some missing their shoes, but they were all dressed up.
The parking lot is littered with cars, debris, and even livestock.
There was a horse that was in the parking lot that had blown in from somewhere just south of there.
There's a horse farm that is next door to our school to our north, and we just thought it was those animals. We later found out that they actually had come from a farm that was a mile to our west and about a mile and a half south. So those animals were carried probably in a direct path, over a mile.
Coming up, entire neighborhoods are suddenly gone. Yet where are the residents? An F5 has ripped through Oklahoma, tearing up neighborhood after neighborhood. The damage is so severe that rescue workers can't navigate the debris-covered streets or identify individual homes. Survivors must now struggle to stay alive, trapped under the wreckage of what used to be their homes.
We actually had maps, and we had to go through there and walk door to door, or what used to be doors. A lot of it was just slabs and debris down on the ground, and try to figure out where the actual address was.
Shelley Warlick's entire neighborhood is leveled. Her family manages to get out, but Shelley is stuck under the debris. She's 9 months pregnant and terrified that she might go into labor. The tornado has passed, but you're trapped under rubble. What's the first thing you should do? Try to get out. Push through the debris to free yourself. Signal for help. Use the debris to cause commotion. Stay still. Wait for rescue workers. Trying to get out is not a good idea. Pushing through the debris is dangerous. There may be live wires, glass, or collapsing ceilings. Using the debris to signal for help is just as dangerous. The best thing to do is stay still, yell if you hear activity, and wait for the rescue workers to find you.
From a professional standpoint, my advice would be the best thing to do would be to leave things alone as much as you can. The problem with moving stuff around is you're liable to cause further injury.
I didn't try to move because I knew I was 9 months pregnant, and I didn't want, me to try to strain myself.
Shelley's frantic husband locates her and pulls her out. Once she's free, they climb through acres of debris to get out of their neighborhood, then spend the night in another town at her mother's house, which was unharmed by the twister. On the other side of town, Craig Hitchcock and his daughter make their way to a local command center and start searching for wounded victims.
Started crawling through houses, and as I looked around and we hollered for people and stuff, there was paper just spinning like little tornadoes all around the room. And you could feel your hair lift and stuff. It was the atmospheric condition was just all messed up. It would be, 80 degrees in one spot, and just 4 feet away it would be in like 70, 71. So there's a lot of hot and cold. The conditions were just weird.
Anyone back here?
Back in the Westmoore area, Chief Rashidi and his team searched the ruins for survivors.
Cars were overturned, some were blown out in the fields. I saw a school bus there. The seats were ripped out of it. I mean, it's just unexplainable. The things that happen there is totally unnatural. I mean, it's confusing and bewildering.
He discovers a desperate man pinned beneath one of the mangled cars. You're a rescue worker. What's the best tool to remove a victim who's trapped under a car? Bulldozer. The shovel has the strength to lift it. Airbag. A rescue airbag can be slid beneath it and carefully inflated. Rope. They are fast, flexible, and strong. A bulldozer is good for pushing debris, but it's too rough for this delicate task. Using a rope to pull the car up is risky. If the ropes slip, the car could come crashing down. The safest method is to use airbags. By sliding them underneath and inflating them using the fire truck's breathing apparatus, they can lift up to 20 tons.
The airbags are going to lift from the bottom. They're going to give you a good clearance, and then as you're lifting with the airbag, you can shove pieces of wood under there to hold it up.
I removed the guy from underneath an automobile with the bag, with the airbag.
The high school has been evacuated. But across the street, another disaster looms. It's an apartment complex that has been completely leveled.
It looked like more like an explosion. There was just a pile of debris where a fairly large apartment complex used to be.
It was basically like being in an explosion. The shrapnel was actually what was causing the injuries. It was very horrifying.
One image really stuck in my mind, and that's the lady that had the 2x4 lodged through her neck, and she's being wheeled to the hospital, and at that point you just think, how could anybody survive this?
And the one thing that most people don't like to discuss, and that is the removal of bodies, you know, the extrication and the storage of bodies. What I had my crews to do was go in the apartments and cut carpet, you know, and then cover the bodies or wrap the bodies up and put them on the side of the chief's car so that the other people couldn't witness, you know, the damage and the destruction. That's probably the worst thing I've seen down there. We could build another building, but you can't replace a human life.
Exhausted search and rescue teams work through the night and into the next day, hoping to find survivors.
And our police and firefighters and public works did a great job of protecting life and protecting property, and then beginning the cleanup process where people could get back in and start putting their lives back together.
Coming up, a shocking discovery. Could this tornado's power actually rival a nuclear blast? On May 3rd, 1999, a monstrous F5 tornado rips through the Oklahoma City metro area and beyond, leaving a grim path of destruction in its deadly wake. Through the night, the Oklahoma City Fire Department searches for survivors, yet many miraculously survive the devastation. 9-month pregnant Shelley Warlick escaped from her collapsed house. She and her family spent the night at her mother's house. Now, on May 4th, she goes back to her property to search for what's left of her old life. All that's left is a pile of debris. Shelley's only able to salvage a few photos, but then, suddenly, the stress of the search forces her into labor.
Around 5, my water broke. I think I was still in shock, probably thinking, you know, oh my gosh, you know, we did lose everything. But I think that took, when me going into labor kind of took that off my shoulders.
At 7 p.m., Shelley gives birth to a healthy baby boy.
It was really weird because I know, you know, I did lose everything, but you know, I still had my family.
A few weeks later, the students at Westmoore High are able to finish out the school year at a local community college. The seniors celebrate graduation day.
I think for those seniors, it was extremely important that we did have closure on the year and have a graduation ceremony, and so we were able to do that.
That used to be a row of houses. People had just moved in or possibly hadn't even moved in yet.
Residents begin to organize their shattered lives and move on.
You can see they're already bulldozing.
In any one neighborhood, you're looking at damage that is among the worst you've ever seen, and it goes on and on and on. And that, coupled with seeing aerial photos and even satellite images that show the damage path, is when you really start to understand the scale of the disaster.
There's just streets and streets and streets that look like this.
Approximately 675 people were injured, with nearly 45 deaths. More than 8,000 buildings, 7,000 homes, and 20,000 automobiles are destroyed. The estimated damage exceeds $1.2 billion, one of the most damaging tornadoes in history.
Right here is Chris and Maria's house. You can see not much left.
You know, I've seen lots of tornado damage, but I don't think I've ever seen anything this bad. Matter of fact, I know I haven't seen anything this bad.
It's like they were able to maybe retrieve some things out of drawers. And
There were many homes, hundreds of homes that had to be scraped. And, you know, one of the big roles of the city was helping those folks understand what relief was available to them through FEMA, helping coordinate things with the Corps of Engineers.
here we are at our house.
But rebuilding means considering how they'll survive the next massive tornado. What's the most practical safety feature to add to your home? Anchor bolts. They'll hold the framework to the foundation. Concrete. Reinforced walls will stand up against strong winds. Storm cellar. Underground is the safest place to be. Anchor bolts will help hold a home together, but the roof can still blow off, causing the walls to collapse. Reinforcing a home with concrete will add extra support, but it's extremely expensive. Building a storm cellar into the foundation is the safest and most practical option. It's inexpensive, effective, and easily accessible.
One of the things that we knew we would have in our next home is a storm cellar that we could go into and not have to leave the house.
So this is simply a 4x8 metal, steel constructed cellar that you can walk in. And we've actually had to use it probably about 3 or 4 times since we've been here.
On May 3rd, the Severe Storms Lab launched several Doppler on wheels units. When the data came back, scientists learned that the Oklahoma City tornado swept through at speeds of up to 318 miles an hour. Equal in force to a shock front nuclear explosion, it was the greatest tornado force ever measured.
I mean, it was incredible. Trees were debarked, grass was stripped out of the ground. There were some places where there was just bare dirt.
It was as if somebody had just scarred the land, just taken a large chunk out of the land.
The damage was obvious, but questions remained. Why were some houses leveled while others next door were untouched? The answer: the tornado was made up of several subvortices.
And as it moved through the metropolitan area for a long time, it was a very large column of dirt and debris and you name it, and you couldn't see through it. It's a quarter of a mile wide and you can't see through it, but inside there were individual tornadoes. So you have this column of dirt and debris that you can't see through, and at any one time there were up to 6 tornadoes on the inside of that big one. There's what we call suction vortices, and those are the ones that we think that create the winds of 300, 318 miles an hour. They're much smaller, and they're rotating at an incredible speed.
The winds from one vortex may only be strong enough to do minor damage to a particular house, but one of the others may strike the house next door with higher winds, causing complete destruction. Consequently, in entire neighborhoods that were completely leveled, a few fortunate homes remained.
So you get this path, it's kind of like this. And so they're crossing each other's paths, but you'll hit one house, misses the next one, goes down, so they're weaving in and out. People used to say, what jumped over my house? No, it basically went around it.
And that wasn't all. Data showed that the May 3rd outbreak spawned over 58 tornadoes within 8 storm systems.
Normally in an entire year we have about 52, 53 tornadoes, so we had the entire load in one afternoon, one evening.
The size of the storms, the length of the tracks, the number of tornadoes was epic in many, many ways.
Now you folks in Pocasset, Tuttle, Amber, Mustang have time to move to a place of safety.
In another time, the death toll would have been catastrophic, but due to dedicated meteorologists like Gary England, fearless storm trackers, and courageous search and rescue teams, thousands of lives were saved.
Meteorologists, weather guys on television take a lot of abuse. You know, we're the target of a lot of abuse. But it was great to talk to people that we actually did some good. We actually saved some lives, and so it's been a gratifying experience.
Oh, we listened to you till you went off the air.
Did you?
Yes. They were out there.
Were you right back here? So you're pretty fortunate then, looks like.
We were all,
we
were all so fortunate. Not one person got killed, not one.
When I hear stuff like that, it makes it worth it. You know, everything we do out there, us risking our lives to do what we do, it just makes it all worth it to know that we've helped, you know, save somebody's life.
When disasters like this one hit, those involved are faced with life and death decisions. But some things remain constant: the determination, bravery, and spirit of the Oklahoma people.